Here we go. Cool. So today I am so excited to welcome one of our world leaders in customer success. I should say the world leader, probably, Nick Mehta, the CEO of Gainsight. Nick has a really impressive journey that includes graduating from Harvard, serving as an executive and VP at Symantec, leading as CEO of LiveOffice and Gainsight, sitting on the board of directors for companies like F5 and PubMatic. And on the personal side, I saw and have read many tweets of his passion for Taylor Swift, the NFL Steelers, and he also recently climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and had some exciting adventures there. So, Nick, I'm really excited to have you join us for our Async 2024 conference. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Scott. It's great to be here. Really appreciate it.
Um, one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of your podcasts, your conferences, I've been to a few of them, is that you always seem to have infinite, boundless energy. You always seem to have a mug in your hand or something that you're eating. Like, how are you staying powered up all day? Like, how do you keep going?
Yeah, I mean, the mug is usually is coffee, although strangely it's decaf coffee, which I don't know if it actually has any energizing benefit, but maybe it's like the placebo effect. But
Hmm.
I would say that just a little more honest answer is I get energized by people, and just the opportunity to meet people, learn about them, learn their stories as human beings and as business people, learn from them on from a business perspective. So. I love talking to people, and that's what gives me energy.
It's awesome. And with all the people you talk to all the time, I know that you're kind of Taylor Swift's videos, tweets. It seems like anytime you do a conference, you're getting hyped up about it. I think my sister-in-law is a huge fan. She just was in London, I think, watching one of their conferences. Have you been? Are you planning to go to any of these upcoming conferences?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I've been to two Eras tour stops, and including the first one in Phoenix. And I have another one planned in Toronto. So with the kids, and then trying to figure out another excuse to go to another one between now and the end of the year. So yeah, no, I will go. I have infinite demand to go to Taylor Swift. And strangely enough, I'm also a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. So I'm going to been to three of his concerts on this tour. So in the intersection of the Venn diagram of hardcore Taylor Swift, hardcore Bruce Springsteen. In the middle is Nick Mehta, probably nobody else. So
Awesome. I think I grew up in New Jersey, so Bruce was someone we constantly listened to, at least or heard about.
it's
And anyways,
awesome.
that's awesome. Okay, so maybe more a little bit more about your kind of professional experience. I think one of the things, we talked a little bit about the coffee, and even though it's decaf, you've been a CEO now a few times. You've been an entrepreneur, for seems like 15 plus years. And it seems like, I don't know if you
Since,
have
since
some
college, actually 26 years. So
26. Oh, okay. All
yeah,
right.
yeah, crazy.
So you've basically been driving after this for a long time, and I'm a new CEO, at least relative to you. 4 years now, and it seems like it can be brutally hard. In addition to obviously everyone else has their challenges in whatever role they have. It's just I think it's an interesting job. So, do you have like something that's motivating you or pushing you to keep going back to it? I know you love people, but like, what is it? What keeps you going there?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been Gainsight's 12 years in now, so I feel you. I'm just like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Some
Yeah.
companies it's a sprint, most companies it's a marathon, and you got to just keep going. I was thinking about that like tortoise versus hare analogy, right? And like most companies, it's the tortoise, just keep going and going and going and going. And it's grit, the concept of grit. And for me, it's then what does fuel you every day. And actually, I was talking to my daughter about this. I was saying she's 18, and I was saying from my perspective, part of a career and like picking a career is a job that you like on the days when it's just routine. Like, yeah, you should like the glamorous stuff, speaking at a conference, winning an award, maybe one day going public, whatever. But the daily grind, I love the daily grind. I like Zoom meetings. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I actually like video meetings. I like emails and Slack messages and, offsites and, board meetings. I know that's weird, but I love board meetings, right? And so I love the daily grind. I love the opportunity to be part of people's lives, even in a small way. All the human beings at Gainsight, past, present, future, all the human beings, our customer base, just having a little window into their life. Like I describe it as like they're the star actor, they have their own play. I get to be a little side character. And that's pretty cool. Like in side character in all these plays. That's awesome. So that's the second thing. Third one I'll just say is fun one is we just bought this company called Staircase AI. It's a really cool company and does like AI for like understanding like customer sentiment, engagement, all that. And we did like their onboarding, and we also do icebreakers again. So ask people like, different questions like what was your childhood dream, or you could go anywhere in the world, what would that be? Typical stuff. And we asked, what are you what are you proud of that you've done recently? And this one engineer said, and I said proud outside of work. And he said, honestly, I don't think there's anything outside of work I'm better at than what I am at work. So the things I'm proud of are things I've done work. And I was like, oh, I get it. That's resonates. I'm not like, I work out. I'm not like an athlete. I don't have any major skills. I'm not a musician.
Yeah.
I am like, what I'm good at is work. And so I think having the feeling like you're good at your job, that also keeps you going.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So how old's your daughter, by the way?
She's 18. She's my oldest. I have three.
Okay, cool. I have four, and I have a 12-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old daughter. So I think we're starting to have a lot of these conversations about grit and hard work. My 8-year-old played soccer on Saturday, and at the end of the game, I was like, dude, you just like ran the entire time. That was incredible. Like, way to go.
Amazing. I love that. So nothing better than being proud of your kids, right? It's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay. So, I got to hold up the book because I've had it for a number of years. I've read it a few
That's
times,
exciting.
like it's been pretty important for me to figure out customer success, customer support, different parts of our business. Obviously, like, I try to understand everything. I wish I could be better at it, to your point about like, I'm always trying to learn. So you wrote this book with a couple other great folks, especially like Lincoln Murphy. I've read a ton of his blogs over the years, and
Yeah,
he
he's great.
actually really helped me understand like freemium and free trials and all these kind of
Oh,
things.
nice. Awesome.
And so like you wrote the book, it was incredible when it came out, and then like it's been, I think, 6 years. What do you feel like you got right, or what are you like embarrassed about at this point?
Yeah, it's been, by the way, 2015. So however, 9 years.
9 years. Wow.
We've
Okay.
actually written, what's weird is we've written 6 books now,
Oh man.
which is crazy. But anyways, but that is all different topics: customer success, community, digital
Yeah.
customer success, blah, blah, blah. And what to get what right and wrong? It's a really good question. I think what we got right was certainly like the importance of, retention, expansion, net retention. That's like a no-brainer. That one's very clear. I think the all the principles of like getting to customers early before they're, don't respond late, be more proactive, early warning, those types of things. I'm sure, you guys do a lot of in your company. The fact that it is a company-wide activity, that other departments, product, that others have to be involved in it. So a lot of things that were right with these like 10 laws of CS. And I think they mostly just apply. But I think there's a few things that I wouldn't call them wrong, but at least need to radically change. One is it can't be a discipline where you throw people at the problem. I think that is the thing that is a byproduct of the zero interest rate world where money was free and flowing. And whether it's venture capital or public capital, money was everywhere. And so you'd be like, yeah, let's hire more CSMs. Let's hire more CSMs. Let's hire more salespeople. Let's hire some more marketing and more engineers. And that's just that game is not only just over temporarily, it's never going to go back to what it was. So I think making it so people dependent is a problem. So that's one thing that really needs to be fixed. And that's, digital self-service. We're doing a lot of stuff in that area in our product line. Number two is not more clearly defining the role of a CSM. So I think every company has gone through this now where they're like, oh yeah, customer success manager. It's onboarding and adoption and it's outcomes and it's business value. It's feedback back to product and helping drive expansion and retention. It can't be all those things. First of all, no one person can do it. Also, that overlaps with all these other functions. So companies are getting real clear, like for example, a lot of security software companies and companies that sell to developers, They're like, no, the CSM's job is to be technical and translate the customer's needs to our product features. They're not doing the relationship management. They're not doing the business value. That's what the salesperson does, you know? And so making it much more clear and not feeling like the CSM has to have a monopoly on customer success. Customer success as a concept is all of your company or my company or any others.
Yep.
CSM is a job, and that job is part of the machine. It's not the whole machine.
Hmm. Do you feel like I think one of the things that you highlighted, especially towards the end of the book, is just the importance of, you just mentioned it. It's not just the CSM's job, but like you really highlighted the CEO being all in. It's like it not
Yeah.
only is the company's job, but it's like your job. And I think I've seen some tweets that have kind of haunted me as CEO from you that are like, every week I meet with 5 executives in CS, and like we're talking about recruiting, about retention, about like onboarding new customers, about managing a team. And have you found, since building, this company, and also just sort of like, I think you've really been the guy who's like pushed the message, the building blocks of the CSM, I feel like. Have you found that the CEOs are actually resistant to it? Is it like, they're like kind of, whatever, they come from a sales background or a technical background, so it's harder for them? Or is it pretty clear and they get it?
Yeah, I think there's two different paradigms. I think the CEOs that come from a technical background, some of them, not all, are just not always passionate about, interested in, or confident in their abilities around customers in general, whether they're prospects or customers. Like, so they're definitely like some companies I've talked to, including some well-known ones, where they're like, yeah, our CEO's not interested in sales, marketing, CS. They're going to delegate that. That's fine. As long as they have somebody good that's going to run that. I think that and often what those companies do is they have like a president or something who runs all the business stuff, right? That's one option, one thing. But then there's these companies where the CEO is a business person, but they kind of come from more that classic, I don't say, well, I'll say old school, but I don't know a better term. The older model that's like you sell the customer, you move on to the next one. And
Yep.
those I think are the ones that don't get it, so to speak. Now, there's a third category that I think do get it, but are misunderstood, which is people that believe in customer success, retention, expansion. They just don't believe in the people they have. Like the brutal, honest reality. This is like all fields. Some fields, like the CEO's like, I love this concept. I don't have the right people to do it. And there's actually a talent evolution problem. There's a talent gap in the kind of post-sales world because since it was not as strategic before, there's a lot of people that are really good people, but they're not considered to be as strategic at the executive level. They still know how to communicate at that level, present to the board, present things in a bigger picture versus just like tactical, like this is what this customer wants. And
Yep.
what's interesting is it's a vicious cycle because they're not super strategic. So therefore, the company doesn't view it this area as strategic because it's tied to them. And then therefore, fewer people want to go into that job because it's not strategic. Now, what's happening though is changing. I was just at a lunch we hosted on sort of AI and CS yesterday, and it's random. Somebody I knew from like literally 22 years ago because I did a startup and he was like our intern. And this guy's like then after that became like a GM and a COO and ran product at companies. And he's now the CCO of some company. And I'm like, whoa, how'd you end up the CCO of this company? He's like, yeah, this is where the need was. Our CEO wanted to put somebody really great into this. So that's what's interesting is you're seeing talent come into it because people are seeing that this is an important area, and
Right.
people are putting talented people from inside their company into the CS world.
That makes sense. I think when at least I look back to my first right out of college job, I was like an SDR in Manchester, New Hampshire, working at a company called Dine.
Oh yeah,
And
I remember that. Yeah, totally.
great company, great team. And, one of the things that I experienced was I became an account executive, and I would almost consider it more of like an account manager. And
Yeah.
we didn't have customer success. We had customer support, and we had, account managers were effectively salespeople. And all I focused on all of my time was upsell, expansion, but like very little to zero success, like helpfulness, understanding their roadmap, their priorities, the value that I could bring to them. Like I thought at the time I was understanding the product and our company and what they would need. But in retrospect now, I'm like, I did not even go close to what this role is now and what you're expected to do. So yeah, I mean, when I think about your point around being able to present to the board or present to the executive team or sponsor or whatever, it's pretty extensive what you need to do versus what you used to have to do.
It's so true. And it's interesting. I was talking to the CIO of a big company today, like 2 hours ago, Fortune 500 company. And I was presenting their customer. I was showing her our vision, and she's like, "Oh, this is great." And she's like, "Because the reality is today, she's the CIO, so all these other vendors sell to, and she's like, the reality is today, most vendors they are just calling me a month or two before the renewal. That's the time, and so customer success hasn't yet finished the job. There's still a lot more to go.
I don't think you're going to be finished for a while. It sounds like so that's actually great, right?
Yeah, exactly. Grateful to have something to do in this world, right? So.
You mentioned earlier, you love Zoom, Slack, all this kind of stuff. And I think, if at least from my view on Twitter, Twitter is just full of people who hate or despise, dislike, and then some people are really excited about remote work, hybrid, in office, return to office, like whatever it is. Everyone is kind of grinding an axe in a certain area. It sounds like you're kind of bought in, you get it, but like, how do you feel about, up and coming folks who are working remotely? How do you feel about managing a remote team? Obviously, it's like a little bit different. And while you are excited, like, how do you feel like the team and then also other companies are doing?
Yeah, it's funny because Twitter is the place where you see in general, there's a bias towards people saying I hate X or
Yeah.
whatever, and it's not my style. So I'm not this is not, not my thing. And also, I don't believe that things are perfect either. And
Right.
I think most things in life are just trade-offs, almost every single thing in business is a trade-off. There's pros and cons to everything. So I actually have kind of initially so we just a little background. We have been pretty distributed from day one, even before COVID, because when we started, one of our co-founders was in India, and so we have a big team in India. Now it's about 700 people, and that
Whoa.
team, amazing team, like are like incredible, like top talent everywhere. And but because of that, it's like US, India, we weren't all in one room anyways, like from the beginning. And so we were like doing I remember in 2013, I remember actually one of our product managers who was in California, he's like, "Hey, I just tried this new video thing out," because we were using some other old video technology. He's like, "It's called Zoom." And he's like, "We should check it out." And then we used it. We're like, "Oh, this is really cool." And so, yeah, we were like using Zoom in the early days, and we were doing all hands in a more distributed model from the beginning. And so when COVID happened, we actually were like, "Oh yeah, this is a hard thing for the world and all of us as human beings." But from a communication perspective, we're ready to go because we've been doing something like this for a while. And so, it was pretty natural for us to transition. And in the first couple of years, and maybe the first 3 years, I was like, "Hey, this is totally fine. There's no downside." Would have probably been like one of those people saying it super positive. And then I think one of the things was that was back in the day when we all had the massive tailwind of like the like low interest rates, post COVID spike, all that kind of stuff, right? Which you probably had too.
Yeah.
Everything was easy. We thought we were so great. All of us are so talented. Sales are through the roof, right? And then of course, like the last year and a half, 2 years gave you a reality check that we're a little more humble. And what it showed me was in a time of just like constancy and consistency, pure remote can work great. In a time of change, I'm sure I know some people with pure remote work great. For us, we're really trying to get together more in person. Now, does that mean everyone's in the same office? No, it's not possible because there's no city in America where there's more than like 10 or 15 people. So there's no place that we would like be like, you got to go back to the office because it's not even logical. Um, but getting more together time and like what that means practically is like we did our employee event, brought everyone to Vegas together, was great. But like, very practically, I'm doing, several days a month where people fly in or I fly somewhere and we just spend a day on, marketing messaging content or a day on AI strategy or a day on whatever. And it's in person. In fact, I held my quarterly offsite for my exec team last week and also some other people. And one of the rules I have in these in-person meetings is no computers, no projector, no Zoom, flip charts, notebooks, like going back in time. And
Yeah.
and by the way, like after the meeting last week, people were like, one of the best things you did was having no computers, no projectors, because everyone was so present. They were so calm. They weren't frenetically multitasking. And so I think you have to compensate. Well, sorry, there's no have to. We have had to, for our company, had to compensate for the fact that we're distributed by spending more time finding ways to get together. Last comment I make, I do think that that doesn't help for that scenario you described, the early career person. That's one where I think it's tough. Like we've talked about, are there certain early career jobs where you should open an office and everyone has to be there? And so that could be something we do. We haven't done it yet. But I do think it's harder. It really is. My daughter, we mentioned her before. I remember her telling me, if, maybe last year, she's like, I don't want to start my job in a remote work environment. Like I want to be in a company and learn, but also meet friends and like, whatever, right? Like that's the thing that you get. So I'm really a believer in office isn't all perfect and remote's not all perfect. You gotta, whatever you do, you have to just balance out the weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to feel very similarly. I mean, like I grew up in New Jersey with a dad who was an investment banker on Wall Street, and if he was going to work, he had to be in the office.
Yeah.
And we actually, one year we bought a Toyota Land Cruiser. It snowed 2.5 feet, and he was like, "I got to go in today." He was the only one on the highway. He got in the city, did his work, but like it's
Wow.
so different and it's so crazy. And on the other hand, like when I was probably 4 years into my career, I got an email to interview with a company called GitLab, which was one of the
Yeah.
first remote companies.
Great company. Yeah.
Yeah, and the CEO was like, "Hey, why don't you just come to my office, which also happens to be my apartment?" And I just
Yeah.
thought it was so weird. But like now, it's like totally. I mean, maybe the apartment office combination feels weird, but like the idea of remote and like talking to somebody that they're not in office, it totally makes sense. So yeah, it'll be really interesting for our kids to see, especially like I grew up doing a what's it called, like go to work with your parent.
Yeah. Yeah. Take your kid to
What
work.
what
Yeah.
do you guys do anything with that? Like, what's that look like?
It's kind of interesting. There is a take your kid to work day, which actually has a decent number of kids. It's more for little kids, so my kids don't go
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
But they send like packets to the houses with like crayons and stuff like that. It's cool. I think what's interesting is I think the kids have fun. It seems like, I mean, they're little kids, so they have
yeah.
fun with kind of anything. I think it's actually, I miss the like, that's one of the things I really miss. I remember the take your kids to work day in the office, and those are so sweet, meeting these kids and really meeting them. So yeah, there's some things you do lose for sure.
Yeah. Let's see, a couple more questions for you. And I think one thing that I've been thinking a lot about, especially, becoming a CEO, you've done it a couple of times. I imagine you have a little bit of a playbook or like a really well-defined one. And I'm kind of curious, like what kinds of things when you started at Gainsight, when you started at LiveOffice, were you like, all right, boom, first 90 days, these are the few things I'm doing. How did you make it successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the stuff is like obvious, like you got to make your assessment of the current situation or whatever. I
Yeah.
think to be practical, it's the practical thing is like, how do you do things? So a few things for me, that less gain sight because it's from the beginning, but like any existing thing, if you come in like that, maybe the spirit of your question, and
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're CEO, if you're a leader, a VP of customer success or sales, or I think this kind of applies to you. So building your like listening tour. What I mean by that is, what are the ways you're going to learn what's going on early? And so that means, employees, customers, and that's where you have to figure out based on the size, what's practical. So for example, we hired a new CRO. She starts in a couple weeks. And, Gainsight's too big for her to meet every employee one-on-one, right? This is not going to work.
Yeah.
So setting up roundtables, right? How do you compose the roundtables? Who's going to go do them? So one thing is that, like, just getting those listening posts in there. Second thing is, okay, and by the way, inside that would be the board too, like all the stakeholders, getting conversations, learning, but also having them feel like you're listening, because that's part of the listen post. Make them feel like you're listening, right? That's super important. And then having enough time to then have a high level vision and sharing that. So I make my new executives present to the company within the first 90 days. What did they learn from the listing posts? What's their vision going forward? What do they plan to accomplish, get done? Not at a tactical level, but just like, okay, here's the things at high level I think we can do better, et cetera. Then a quick win. What's a quick win you can have for each stakeholder? So what's a quick win for the team? It could literally be like I remember I worked at this company eons ago, and the new CEO said when he comes in, one of the things he does is get expense report stuff fixed because everyone hates expense reports, right? Some
Yeah.
policy thing or something, there's something wrong all the time. And so you fix something like that that's highly visible, something for your employees, something for your customers, and something for your investors. Ideally, you do one win for each of those, and it can be small. It's not going to be big in 90 days, but
Right.
find something that people see like, oh yeah, this person, they're taking action. We don't have to wait 6 months. They're not, it's not like sometimes you hire somebody, you're like, what exactly are they doing? And like nobody knows. And
Yeah.
so that's like taking that action and really having an action orientation to what you do. And then the final one is get the right support. And so what does that mean? Well, I mean, if you're fortunate enough to be in a big enough company or a senior enough person, get a great EA. Just like that is the thing that's so critical. Either it's one you've used in the past or something else, right? Net new. And if it's on EA, get the right like cross-functional support. Get the right, maybe you're leveraging help from the CEO's EA or a chief of staff that your CEO has, or it's just, maybe the HR leader that can be a good partner to you. Get the right support. Those are my four that I would put in.
I love especially those three, like the board, the investors, the team, and the customer. That
Quick
seems pretty
wins.
obvious, but like, something that people tend to miss. And I think to your point, there's a lot of the time where you hire somebody and they just kind of disappear and you're like waiting and hoping, and then, maybe eventually they deliver something. But I think that urgency, that sort of speed that you're looking for, especially CEO, is a high one there for me. Okay, so two more questions. You mentioned one that was really interesting. You had this AI CS, what's the future of, or what's that
No,
looking like? Obviously, AI is kind of top of everybody's mind, whether it's because it's real and people are actually implementing it and actually finding ways to use it, or it's just sort of like another topic to talk about that's exciting. Where are you? Like, what are you guys feeling about AI, and how are you kind of thinking about either the future or your current team, your workplace?
oh, I mean, it's massive. It's interesting because I know there's some people that are like asking, they're like, oh, is it real or is it hype? I'm like they're not paying attention. And
Yeah.
literally, some of these big companies are pre-buying $100 billion of NVIDIA GPUs. OpenAI is building $100 billion data center, is talking about eventually having $100 trillion data center. They just raised money at $100 billion valuation. I mean, this is short term for 6 months or a year might be hype. Long term, it's the biggest change in the history of humanity. It's not like there's no parallel. It's not the internet. It's not cloud computing. It's not mobile. It's like so much bigger than all of those because there's never been anything that can simulate a human being, like even close. And so it's just truly people look back, November 30th, 2022, I'll never forget the date because that's the day ChatGPT came out. And that's not when LLMs came out because they were built before, but that's where it became very mainstream. And yeah, I think truly like 100 years from now, it's going to be the history books of that day, along with, Pearl Harbor and moon landing and maybe bigger than those. And so yeah, I think anyone that thinks they're like skeptical, they're like, oh my, I almost feel bad because I'm like, you may not make it to the next phase from a career perspective. Like, I believe that people that don't know AI stuff are going to be not able to have jobs in the future. And so, yeah, I'm very passionate. Now, part of it's also like I'm a hardcore sci-fi nerd. So, for the first time in my life, I'm living in a sci-fi novel, and it's exciting, probably scary too, but it's exciting. From a tech perspective, the pace is insane. I mean, the speed and the evolution and like the number of new models coming out and the ways people are using them every day, it's crazy. So within my world, doing a ton of stuff. We have dozens of features shipped already. Broadly, there's a category of stuff that's about really making CSMs and other customer facing people more effective and efficient, eliminate data entry, get to the point where you have better information for your customers, have better early warning. That's all real, like real stuff that's shipped. We just bought a company called Staircase.ai that does like analyze all the communications, emails, calls, and gives you signals on early risk in customers. And then there's the like, how can you push out to your customers to have a better self-service experience, a better community experience, better learning and training experience? So yeah, there's a ton of like very real stuff over time. How do you build like a virtual CSM that can be alongside your human CSM and like augment them, you know? So a lot of stuff. I'm very confident it's all happening very quickly. And the other side of it is I feel a responsibility for making sure employees learn. So we're doing a lot of stuff on educating our employees on AI, both so they can use it internally in their jobs, but equally important so it helps their careers long term. So yeah, I could go for 5 hours on this one.
No, I think your point about helping the team, helping other folks in the org understand and appreciate it. One of the things that I do, I mean, our product is sort of a visual tool, right? So like
Yeah,
one of the things I do a lot of is anytime I use ChatGPT and have a great result where I'm like excited that it's helped me save time, I just either make a video and share it with the team or like screenshot it and put it in there.
that's
And I'm like,
awesome.
hey, look at this quick like earlier today, for example, I was updating some formula in Salesforce that was pulling data from another tool that we use. And I couldn't get the timestamp to go from like liquid to whatever I wanted it to be. And so I just asked ChatGPT, and instead of going on Stack Overflow for 45 minutes or whatever, it was like problem solved in like no joke, like
Yeah,
10 seconds. It's incredible.
it's
Um,
amazing.
so anyway, yeah, I hear you. That makes sense. Um, so I guess like, last question, what are you most excited about as far as AI? When you see, your sci-fi background, and you see the AI of a movie, a TV show, who do you feel like it most likely embodies? Is it a her? Is it a Data from Star Trek? Is it like, is it Terminator, coming back in time to wipe us out? Is it like the Matrix with Neo at the third movie? Where are you?
Great question. So probably all, and we can think of even more and more examples. But I'd say that it's not. So the Terminator thing, I don't know. It's you can speculate or whatever, but like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if that happens, it happens, and we don't have any ability to do anything about it. So that one I'm less worried about. But it's funny because Her is an amazing movie. And of course, there's an aspect that I think people are like, oh, that's creepy or different or whatever, right? And there's a creepy ending to it. But I do think that the thing that is true about it is AI is going to feel more human and more like a companion for us. And there's the relationship aspect, which I'm not commenting on. That's different. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
from a work perspective, just like it's truly a partner for us at work. And there's this term that was from a while back, so some people know it, some don't. They used to say there's like racing against the machine, which is what this term people had of like who's going to win in a race between the human and the robot or whatever, right? And then there's racing with the machine, meaning we're going to race together, And this is the point. Some people know this guy named Ray Kurzweil has this idea of singularity, which you can sort of that's basically humans and AI merged together into a new species. Whether or not that's real, I know some people are like, oh my God, that's made up, whatever. Whether it's that's real, our ability to like truly bring the best out of humanity through technology, it's already happened. I mean, literally, like you could argue we're fused to this, right?
Yeah, totally.
We're all fused to this. And so it's something where I think people are scared by it, but they don't realize it's already happening. We already live our lives this way. And it's just going to get better and more and less, it'll feel less artificial. Ironically, artificial intelligence will make things less artificial. Because today, like it's artificial. I have to type into something, I have to switch into a tab, I have to cut and paste, do the annoying like you take that whatever information you're trying to cut and paste.
Right.
And this will feel more natural, right? Even though it's powered by AI, I think it'll actually feel more natural.
Well, I think, to that point, and just kind of wrap that up. I didn't realize for probably a month or two that there was an option that I could click a button and ChatGPT would start talking to me, and I
Oh
could
yeah.
I
Yeah,
could
that's
put my earpod in, I could talk to it, and I remember I like basically had a 45-minute conversation while I was driving around, helping define and construct the blog post that I wanted to write that I had been procrastinating forever. So
that's a great
I'm excited about the future of all this.
I've heard a lot of people that do that now. They're on a walk or whatever, and they just talk to ChatGPT as if it was an executive assistant, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this was more fun than talking to ChatGPT. So thanks, Nick, for spending some time with me. And
How do you know? How do you know I'm not an AI? Come
oh
on,
yeah, maybe
you
that's
don't
right.
know.
Yeah. All right, man. Good to meet you, and thanks for your time.
Great to see you. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.